Okay, what's happening, people? How you living?
Feeling?
How you feeling? Hopefully it's a fantastic, what is it, Sunday night over there, and I guess in America, not here, but in America it would be Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Happy Father's Day, y'all.
All the fathers of real children and all the fathers of fantasy football leagues. Shout out to you guys for
fantasy football leagues.
Shout out to all the above. What's up, Nick? Welcome in. Let us know who's in the chat, who we're hanging out with. Leave the Race says, what if you use code FLOCK? Then you would have access to Mason's perks. So depending on what whose code you use, you get that person's perks. So I know Mason offers some awesome perks. Get in contact with him. I mean, we've had people who have used 2 different codes as far as they've signed up with 2 different accounts. We wouldn't ask you to do that. But the only people that we grade are the teams that have used our code who are supporting us financially on the site. What's up, Nick? Dennis says, where y'all live at, if not the States? So we're both American, born and raised, but we're living in Sydney, Australia at the moment.
Sydney, mate.
So yeah, brother, in Sydney. What's up, Dave? Welcome in, welcome in.
How you feeling?
Hopefully you guys have had a good Sunday, a good weekend. Honestly, to me, I feel like the part of the weekend that you guys are in right now, which is, you know, it's past 7 p.m. on a Sunday night and the week is about to hit you. It just feels like almost like, not depressing, but it's just like a sad part of the weekend because you're like, damn, okay, this is over. Back to reality. So hopefully you guys, you know, had a good weekend, a memorable weekend. What's up, the Dynasty Den? Welcome in. Okay, so we are grading Dynasty teams on today's show, and that's not what that's supposed to look like, is it? We're in
the Matrix.
Infinite loop here. Oh no, this is okay. So let me go ahead and fix that. Oh no, it's just infinite looping. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, here we go. So what we're doing today is we are breaking down Dynasty teams. Now, if you are curious, hey, how could I go about getting my team broken down? How could I go about getting your thoughts? Well, it's quite simple. In fact, we have a pinned comment that tells you exactly how, but for those people who use our code LAND, L-A-N-D, and sign up to the Mother Flocker tier, those are the people that we will be looking at today at their Dynasty teams. It's just one of the perks, one of the many perks that you get when you sign up. You get one of your Dynasty teams graded on a live stream. So, you know, pinned comment, you can find a sign up link. So yeah, Kami John says, I'm freaking out, man. That guy to your right, welcome in. How can I get my Dynasty Superflex team graded? Yep, so same process there. Gingerbread Man, go to the website, sign up with our code, which is LAND, L-A-N-D, select the Mother Flocker tier, and then you're going to unlock the ability for us to break down one of your Dynasty teams on a live show. Just DM us on on Discord. Your purchase. But the first team that we're going to look at today is from Kevin. So shout out to Kevin315. I'm pretty sure this is Kevin Hunter, but I could be wrong. I think Kevin315 is Kevin Hunter. But we're going to take his sleeper ID. We're going to pop it into the league power rankings so we can see the entire league here. And let's look at the context. He says, howdy, fellas. This is my 1 quarterback Dynasty non-tight end premium 10-man league. I just won it last year and hoping to get some advice and or praises. Anything I can do to help go back to back. Love you guys. My league ID is up top. Okay, so first off, congratulations on the championship. 1 quarterback, non-tight end premium, 10-man league. So there's going to be a lot of good teams, I imagine, in this league in a 10-manner. But let's see, who's his starting quarterback? Is that Jalen Hurts?
So his team is the Hunters, which is I'm assuming team 2.
So 1 quarterback. Let's go position by position here. Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young, Jordan Love, Sam Howell. I mean, these would all be valuable quarterbacks in Superflex. Obviously, different values between them, but in a 1 quarterback, you're more than covered. At running back, you've got Bijan, CMC, Ken Walker, Javonte, Elijah. And at running back, I would say it's safe to say that you're very covered. At wide receiver, Olave, Higgins, Cooper Kupp, Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley. I mean, just those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are great. That's a great core. Good mix between young wide receivers that we love and veterans who are going to get you guaranteed points. So well done there. And I also really like the addition of, well, I'm not a big Nico Collins guy, but specifically Tank Dell, Michael Wilson, Xavier Hutchinson, all players that we've talked about as kind of sleepers to have in rookie drafts.
There's all the Texans, actually.
Yeah,
all the Texans wide receivers. So whoever hits, you're going to have them.
Yeah, whichever wide receiver it is, you're going to be hopefully in luck. And then at the tight end spot, Mark Andrews. Doesn't look like you have any picks. I wonder if your 23 draft has happened yet. Let me have a look and see. It probably has. Yeah, it has.
I feel like it should have happened.
It has happened. So in 24, your only picks are 4th round picks. And then in 25 is when you have your first back. But honestly, looking at this team, I mean, you're pretty set, man. Across the board.
I've been trying to find stuff. Maybe somebody you can sell.
Jalen Hurts, I mean, in a 1 quarterback league, he's a fantastic quarterback to have. He's going to get you a ton of rushing upside, ton of rushing touchdowns, great offense around him. We don't need to overthink Jalen Hurts. He's always a threat to be quarterback 1, especially with that extended contract. At the running back spot, I mean, you have 4 guys in the top 15 of community rankings. You have the RB1, you have the RB4 and CMC. I mean, you're going to be completely fine with that crew. At wide receiver, I know that Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley aren't ranked very highly, but I think in your build, Calvin Ridley is much more valuable than the community is giving him credit for. And I mean, you're going to score a ton of points with this wide receiver room as well. Kupp's going to be great this year. Olave is going to step into his own again, second year, be an even bigger part of that offense. T. Higgins is going to be T. Higgins. I think Calvin's going to bounce back. And then you've got Mark Andrews at tight end. So, I mean, is there really a move that you should make with this team? It feels like it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it feels really, really comfortable. It feels really solid. I think just to nitpick, just to give you something that I would do. I know you're great on tight end, but if Mark Andrews misses some time, is it going to be Jake Ferguson? Is it not going to be Jake Ferguson? Noah Gray comes in, steps in sometimes. Darnell Washington, we don't really see a pathway. Is there another tight end we feel more comfortable maybe trying to acquire here? And that can be a range of people. This is a 10-man league, so I wonder who was available on your waiver wires. Because it could be an Irv Smith, it could be a Gerald Everett, someone that I would just say I feel a little bit more.
I think those guys would be rostered, to be honest, because it's looking like a lot of those players would be rostered. But you could even go the route of like buying low on a more reliable tight end too.
Yeah, a tight end too, and it's exactly because we saw Market injured last year. He missed some time a little bit, and if it was the case, I'm not comfortable starting any one of these guys, but that's just nitpicking, just trying to give you something, maybe to build off, to walk away with. I would also say, just for the lulls, maybe try and sell a quarterback to team. I know it's 1 quarterback means really nothing, but there's a team here that has Jakey, Team 5, Tua, Desmond, and Taylor Heineke. As much as I love Tua, maybe he's not confident. Maybe the concussions come back for Tua, and he doesn't feel confident in Desmond Ridder, and somehow you can sell Jordan Love or you can sell a Bryce Young. When are you really going to start one of these guys, especially with Jalen Hurts? But once again, just nitpicking, not something that you have to go out and do immediately, or you should even do, but just a thought process. If there's a window throughout the season, try it.
Yeah, Komet's a good option. In the chat, I agree. Komet's a decent option depending on price. I will put Chig in that conversation, but he might be a little bit more expensive. Man, Jakey's really struggling on tight end. But yeah, there's quite a few names that you could go out and grab. I mean, even like a Luke Musgrave, Trey McBride, Dalton Schultz, Irv Smith, like Badake said. You could just get Isaiah Likely on your team just in case. As insurance. But yeah, if Andrews does go down, your championship aspirations are, depending on what other teams have, not in question, but it definitely makes it a little bit more difficult in the playoffs without an impact tight end. And this is really your main competition, what it looks like. He's got Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, Breece Hall, Jameer, Saquon, Charbonnet, White, Devon A-Chain. I mean, yeah, he's got a pretty good running back room. Pretty great wide receiver room as well. I think the good thing is that you have the upper hand at the moment at tight end. So if these teams were to battle it out, you might have the upper hand with with having Mark Andrews versus David Njoku, even though he'll be okay. But yeah, you've done really well. He said, I want some potential advice and some praise. So well done, because you've built a great team.
Yeah, agreed.
Only small little moves that you can make right now. Seeing if you could sell honestly, with Jalen Hurts, like you could sell a Bryce Young, Jordan Love, or a Sam Howell. Any one of those guys you could sell and maybe add not with those pieces, but maybe in a different trade, you could add a little bit of a tight end too that you could trust a little more than Jake Ferguson. So yeah, really well done. Congratulations, because this is a fantastic team.
It's awesome
and thanks for the support, man. Really appreciate you. But we will move on to the next team. Just before we do, and in case anyone's curious, how can I get my team graded? Sign up with our code LAND, LAND, at flockfantasy.com/land. That will get you 30% off. And when you choose the Mother Flocker tier, then you unlock the ability for us to grade one of your Dynasty teams. So all the advice we're giving out today is from people who support us over on Flock Fantasy. Okay, so the next team is from Kodaky, and he says, hey, thanks, guys. 10 team, 1 quarterback, PPR tight end premium, and then he's given us his sleeper ID. And yeah,
quarterback.
As we mentioned beforehand, you will unlock this roster submissions tab once you sign up with our code to the Mother Flocker tier. It's just one of those things that you'll unlock. But
his team is hash slinging slashers.
Okay.
So yes, this is a 1 quarterback tight end premium.
Okay.
And his team looks pretty decent as well. I guess we can start off with the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud. I think you're fine there. You don't really have to build on depth. Running back, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce, Alexander Madison, Kendre Miller, Devon, Alvin. I mean, you have a lot of depth at running back there, no matter what happens. So I think you're really good there. Wide receivers,
it is mostly. I was gonna say it's mostly veterans, but that's like your superstars are mostly veterans. Eckler, Pollard, Chubb, like Pierce is I wouldn't put as like a superstar, or Madison. They're very good RB2s, bottom end RB2s, but you still have really good youth with Kendre and Devon. So
exactly. By the way, this is he can start 6 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers start, and then 3 flex spots.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. And wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Deontay, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Richie Rice with Chalk and Zay. Decent. I think we can get a little bit better depth there potentially. And then George Kittle, Noah Fant. There is
tight end premium. It's good that you have a tight end like George Kittle who can win you weeks. Yeah, I would say the main area that I'd prefer to improve on this roster would be the wide receiver room. Now, obviously, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, they stay in your team long term. And I think Deontay is a player that I brought as a buy low this offseason. But outside of that, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, I think Keenan is great for your build. I would be curious what sort of value you could get for a Mike Williams. But I would prefer to have one more heavy hitter in this room if you can start with a 6. So let's look at what his current lineup looks like. It's Herbert, Eckler. We have a lot of Chargers as well, which, you know, you're just putting a lot of belief in one team on a weekly basis. Herbert, Eckler, Chubb, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Keenan, George Kittle, Mike Williams, Tony Pollard, Damian Pierce. So we are starting 4 Chargers almost every week. Ideally, we would not have that many Chargers in our starting lineup.
We don't want that.
Even though it's a good offense, it's just there's like, you know, if you're in your championship week and the Chargers get shut down, it's like, well, you're probably going to lose your week, you know. You want a little bit more variance in your teams. So our draft capital leaves us in a position where it's going to be difficult to make some big moves.
Yeah, it's like, I think 2 seconds, 2 seconds in 2024. He doesn't have his 2024 first.
I think if you're going to make a big move, to me, you're going to have to do it with your running back room. And as crazy as it sounds, I'd be willing to do it with Austin Ekeler.
Yeah, and that's exactly who I was going to pivot to, was Austin Ekeler, because you can sell him to a team that needs him. I'm just trying to find out which one. Maybe Cowboys potentially, but I don't know if he's going to want, because his wide receiver room is not as strong.
Well, the team right below Deshaun's masseuse is outside of Saquon. There's definitely some big question marks. Could you get a Devonta Smith for an Ekeler? Like, could you wiggle your way into that? You might have to pay more than just Austin Ekeler straight up, but it looks like you have a couple second round picks. I'd be curious if you could move Ekeler for Devonta, and let's say add like a 2024 second. I feel like that's a conversation that you could start. And then the good thing with the depth that you have is when you lose Ekeler, you can still start Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Damian, Alexander Madison. You still have 4 running backs here that day one you feel comfortable starting and competing with that core running back room. So Ekeler is going to probably get you the most bang for your buck. Devonta Smith is a good buy in my opinion. Jerry Jeudy, another person that I would buy. I know he had a pretty negative reception perception that came out pretty recently, but you could probably get Jerry Jeudy and something. You know, let's say you use Ekeler and let's say Mike Williams. Ekeler and Mike Williams. Could you then package, let's say, and get Jeudy and I don't know, like you don't have to package, but could you get Jeudy and maybe like a future second, you know, like a mid-second next year or something? That's something that you could potentially try. A couple other names, just looking at teams that need some running back help.
Yeah, there's a couple other teams. 7, Mini, I think also needs some help. He has Javonte, Jamal Williams, Elijah Mitchell. A guy that you like, Treylon Burks.
Yeah,
maybe you can go out and acquire him. Whatever that looks like, whether it's Austin Ekeler. If anything, you can get more return, especially with Austin Ekeler.
You could, for sure.
And it looks like his team, I mean, he's kind of like in this middle area where he kind of has, I mean, I don't know if he's going to want to buy Austin Ekeler here in this scenario, because he's kind of in this middle pack right there.
Yeah, it's worth reaching out. It's hard to say if he absolutely would do it or not. The Unforsaken, you know, they've got Najee, Swift, Akers, Mixon, so maybe they're not looking to do it, but maybe they'd be willing to part with like a Drake London. Again, you just reach out and you have these sort of conversations. But the teams at the top aren't going to be willing to make any move like that. They're already pretty strong. So to me, Ekeler is the big piece I would move. I would not want to move Pollard. But I would be willing to move Chubb for all those deals as well. If it's not Ekeler, I'd be willing to move Chubb. You don't want to move both of them, but I would say one of them should return pretty good value at the wide receiver spot. And if there's a scenario in which you can package Ekeler with Mike Williams, then you're taking away a lot of variance on your team. And now it's just Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen instead of 4 Charger starters, you know. Just think about that when you're going into the playoffs. What if the Chargers face the Broncos, and that's a pretty good defense, right? And Pat Surtain shuts down Keenan, or Mike Williams is irrelevant. Ekeler gets hurt, or it's just too much variance in one team. So I would say that's the main area of this team that I would be looking to improve, and I think the clear way to do that is through the running back room.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It's a pretty good team, though.
It is a pretty good team. I'm just trying to find other options here. I was trying to find maybe some buy lows. In one quarterback, it might be a little bit different. Because normally, if you're in this position, first guy that comes to mind is like an Elijah Moore. If you want some wide receiver depth, I love the heavy hitter move. But if some of these guys can't be moved and some of these guys don't want him, can you get an Elijah Moore? Can you get a Jahan Dotson?
Sure.
Can you get the Treylon Burks? Some people don't see him. What about a Christian Kirk, a Brandon Ayuk?
Yep, I like those moves.
All these guys that are kind of flying under the radar that people are happy to walk away with, part ways. That George Pickens, some of those guys that maybe you can.
I wouldn't get Pickens because you already got Deontay, but.
Oh, true. You have Deontay, exactly. So, guys like that maybe you can get if they're not heavy hitters.
Sure.
Those are some names I would definitely be trying to acquire as well, and trying to put feelers out to see if they're willing to move them, because I think they can really help your team, because you need depth and you also need versatility, because like what Zach's been saying the whole time, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler with Justin Herbert, you're really limiting your upside there week in, week out. So definitely keep that in mind if you can't get those big guys.
Chris Godwin may be even a good name to try and use one of these Charger receivers and let's say a future third or something to start a conversation. You probably won't get won't get the deal done with that, but you'll start a conversation around it. Calvin Ridley, another name I'd be willing to go out and pursue. I think Calvin is undervalued right now. Elijah Moore is a pretty good name as well, but and even Sky Moore has like a really deep depth buy. I know you have Rashee Rice, but hey, if it's not Rice and ends up being Sky, then great. If it's not Sky and ends up being Rice, then great. I don't see both of them absolutely thriving long term.
Exactly.
But of course, sooner or later, Travis Kelce will not be Travis Kelce anymore. So, but overall, great team. You're solid at quarterback. You are solid at running back to the point where you can actually move assets. You've got two very good wide receivers that we love. And then we'll just add, one more piece to that wide receiver room. And I think you'll be a little bit more balanced and you'll have a better approach, especially in a start 10 where you can start more wide receivers. I would prefer your strength to actually be on this side of your room rather than this side of your room with a PPR format start 10. So let's just see if we can, maybe tweak and make a couple moves. But as always, that you have the fantasy hotline. That's part of your membership. So feel free to reach out to us if any deals come up. We're here to give some feedback. And at the moment, I think the last team we're grading today is Steven, who just sent us a DM with his team instead of putting it in the chat, but he's obviously unlocked. We make sure and verify everyone's unlocked the ability to have their team reviewed. So he says, if this can be my one review, I probably won't be on live, but this is the league that I traded Calvin for Ruggs plus the night before he got arrested. That's tough. Then for Calvin again during the offseason, like a week before his suspension. Oh, God, that's tough. I've probably got a year or two before I really have a chance to compete unless someone unexpectedly hits. Might have dropped Gesicki for Malik Willis and Nico Collins for Deuce Vaughn by the time y'all get to review. Nix the Deuce Vaughn idea. Okay, so the Deuce Vaughn idea is not happening. So it sounds like he's had some troubles, some bad luck with certain moves. Looks like he's got Geno and Dak. Is that correct?
Yeah, he does have Geno and Dak, and his team is Marshawn's match.
Okay, so power rankings have us 9th of 12. And this is a super flex or is it?
This is a super flex start 10. It says super flex 2 quarterbacks. I'm assuming super flex.
Start 10.
Yeah. So team is deep. I mean, let's look at the quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterbacks: Dak Prescott, Geno, Russell. Obviously, Billy. So he has his Geno. Obviously, Steven's a Seahawks fan, so he loves Geno Smith, which is awesome. I think you're fine there. Running backs: Ramondre Stevenson, Devon, Herbert, Spears, Tyler Algier, Damian Harris, Jerome Ford. Okay,
so
it's a little bit
pretty weak.
It's a little bit, pretty weak here in the running back room. So we'll definitely think about some moves. Chris Olave, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin, Tony, Pierce. Not too much depth. How many wide receiver starts can you have? What's this lineup looking like here? 2 wide receivers, 3 flex spots. So 5 wide receivers you can start. He can start here. Okay. And then he has tight ends Michael Merrick, Cole Kmet, and Mike Gesicki. All right. And he has, 2 firsts. Looks like he has all his firsts.
Is it a first? Is it a tight end premium? It doesn't look to be.
It's not a tight end premium. No. But he has 2 firsts in 2024.
That's
he has
good.
His first, and then he has Team 2's first. I think if we're looking at the same rankings, the
Knights of Night would be Team 3 in
Team 3, okay.
players only. But okay, so this is a team.
I feel like we have to make a decision.
Sorry,
but I feel like we have to make a decision. You know, like let's just go straight rebuild. That's how I'm feeling right now. I don't know how you feel.
So, man, this is tough because like the quarterback room, while it feels okay, it also would feel better if the rest of the team was completely ready to compete. So I'm just thinking this out in my mind. You've got Dak and Geno starting, and Russell Wilson potentially if he recovers form. So that's great. But then at running back, we're starting Ramondre, which is fine. But then Devon and Khalil are really, I guess Damian could actually, in my opinion, go out and have some sort of season where he puts up 8-10 touchdowns. I think he'll be more involved than the James Cook truthers. But so there's a scenario where it works out. There's a scenario in which Devon A-Chain becomes valuable, but you're still having pretty big question marks at your RB2. Then we can start 5 wide receivers, so it would be Olave, Judy, Ridley, Tony, and then we're not sure exactly where the other start would come from. Maybe Nico Collins. And then at tight end, we've got Mayer, Komet, Gesicki, so there's still some pretty big question marks around the tight end room. Here's what I would say myself. I would say there isn't really a player on this team that is an obvious sell high right now. What I would say is I don't really see a pathway in which, like, let's compare that to, like, let's say the first team at the top here. Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Trey Lance, Dobbins, Pierce, Cook, Connor, Jefferson, Waddle, JSN, Brandon Ayuk, Pat. The second team here, we've got Burrow, Lawrence, Ken Walker, Nick Chubb, Rashad White, Aaron Jones, with Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Diggs, Jahan Dotson, Hopkins. So looking at the other teams, there's a chance you're competing in the playoffs, but I think it would be more unlikely that you do than you are. But again, I look at these names: Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. I don't think you're getting proper value for any of those names right now. In fact, Geno Smith would be someone I would tell you to buy low in almost every scenario at the moment. Dak Prescott is getting a little bit disrespected. Russell Wilson, is it worth selling him or seeing what he's like with Sean Payton? Then we go across the board. Ramondre Stevenson probably gains value in season as there's no one to compete with him. Not really any other obvious sell highs in my opinion. But then you look at Calvin Ridley, who I believe will gain value in season. So I think the approach is a patient rebuild, and the way I'll explain that is not many moves that I would suggest really forcing right here, right now, but in season, let's say the Broncos start 4-2 and Russell Wilson is on fire. Okay. Let's look at potentially selling Russell Wilson.
Right.
Let's say the same for Geno Smith, or Dak Prescott is the quarterback 3 through week 8, right? Like, that's the way I would be working this team. If Ramondre Stevenson comes out in the first 8 weeks as a top 5 running back, then yeah, let's see. Can we get 2 first-round picks for him? I would say Olave really is the only player. Olave, Michael Mayer are the only 2 players that I feel like I would be hell-bent over keeping. And it's not that I don't like Jerry Jeudy. It's not that I don't like Calvin Ridley. It's just that I think if we're realistic with ourselves, I don't see this team really competing with the heavy hitters. So, again, a patient rebuild would be my focus with this team, being realistic as to where we are. And injuries are expected to happen to every team. So selling these players at the right time, I would not sell Calvin right now because I think he only gains value in Dynasty. Same with Jerry Jeudy. Maybe Tony is the only player that you could, in my opinion, justify trying to sell high right now. But that's the way I would approach it. I don't think we're competing with this team.
I completely agree. And, you know, Geno Smith, Calvin Ridley were two guys, and Kadarius Toney, if I'm not mistaken, were two guys that I bought as sell high at the right time. So I completely back what you're saying, you know, and it's a bit tricky. I'm happy to keep Ramondre Stevenson. I'm happy to keep Olave, Jerry Jeudy. I think those are the only three people that I want to lock in and say, you know what, not that they're I would say untouchable. Chris Olave. I would agree that Jerry Jeudy, we can have a conversation. Ramondre Stevenson, we can have a conversation. But if I'm not getting what I want, then, you know, I'm not into it. But I'm happy to move Geno. I'm happy to move Russ. I'm happy to move Dak, Kadarius Toney, and every single one of my running backs. You know, I'm not a massive believer in Devin. If anything, he was a guy that I'm saying that you should sell high now, especially with all the well, it's a little bit difficult now.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that, but
now with Dalvin out of Minnesota, and there's a big conversation that he could go there. So that was kind of the argument that I was saying you should sell him immediately at that time, but that's kind of changed now.
Yeah.
So same thing with Khalil Herbert. If Khalil Herbert's the guy, the first 5 weeks, and he's a top 20 guy, sell him for whatever you can. That's exactly what I will be doing. But I agree, it's a slow rebuild. It's a slow we moving pieces at the right time. Personally, it's either, this is what I would say about Geno Smith. You can, how is his value going to rise significantly in the season to where, like, I think right now you can potentially get a first round pick, in my opinion. I could be wrong. But I mean, we've seen, people buy Geno on the low right now, which Zach has kind of brought in his videos. But I think people are kind of saying, well, I don't see how he's a buy low now with how stacked this team is. That's what's difficult.
He's a buy low because no one values him properly in community rankings. That's why he's a buy low. And I think you take advantage of those scenarios.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely opportunity for some of these teams. I mean, if you look at,
he's a quarterback 20.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, and if you look at like Team 12, Collusion, who I think has a great team, at least in my rankings. I don't know which rankings you're looking at.
Okay.
But Collusion, Master, he has CJ Stroud, Desmond Ridder, Matthew Stafford. But he has stacked running backs. He has decent wide receivers. He has TJ Hawkinson. I mean, if he goes on a little run here, throw him Geno. See what you can do. I mean, that's how I'm seeing. If Geno is a top guy like he was earlier in the season,
sure,
last year. But I agree. I just wanted to second what you said.
I hear you. The last thing I was going to say is, like, just be careful who you're. I think often what something that goes under discussed in trading, specifically teams who are trying to rebuild, is okay. First round picks are good, but where is that first round pick going to be? If let's say you do a deal where you send Dak Prescott, Ramondre Stevenson, right, and you send it to a team and that team wins the league, you didn't actually help your team at all, right? I mean, because now you have the 112, maybe in back-to-back. Let's say you got 2 first-round picks and, you have the 112 in back-to-back drafts. Well, you didn't help your team. So the reason I'm saying that is specifically for Steven, like, try and seek out teams ideally that are middle of the pack or bottom in power rankings, just because, again, like, if you move Dak Prescott, great, you get a couple first round picks, but you never replace that long term with a 112. So just be careful of what teams you're trading with. And there'll be people who have, let's say, tried to buy big names off of me. If let's say I'm a team that needs to rebuild, I have a Jamar Chase or I have a Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and someone might send me like 3 first-round picks, and I'll look at that and I'll say, okay, but if I give you CeeDee Lamb, you're unquestionably the best team for the next 3 years. So what is that? Yeah. What is that first-round pick really worth to me? Yeah. So I know we want to get more lottery tickets, but some lottery tickets aren't worth this, what others are. So just keep that in mind when you're making deals. As always, as Steven knows, you have the fancy hotline. If any trades come in, you can feel free to message us about them. Tony would be the only one that I would say that you would obviously, be looking to sell high at the moment. And even like, you know, getting a name that just came to mind to me, which we've seen some similar trades for him. Very split in the community. In fact, a lot of people hate this player, Jonathan Mingo. I feel like you could get a Jonathan Mingo for a Kadarius Toney right now. You might be able to get more, but anyway, like I said, a patient rebuild is what I would suggest for this sort of team. Selling all these players at the right time would be the move I would make. But that's it for today, guys. There are no more teams to grade for today. But again, if you want your team graded this time next week, we'll be live on Sunday night. If you want your team graded, again, the steps are super simple. You want in-depth breakdowns from Badake and I. Well, go ahead and sign up with our code LAND, LAND, at flockfantasy.com. There's a direct link in the pinned comment that will take you to a sign-up page. Choose the Mother Flocker tier. And once you sign up, just DM us on Sleep or on Discord, with a purchase of your screenshot. We'll get you going. We'll help you unlock all of the exclusives. But outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. Cool new feature, by the way, that just dropped on the site is a lot of people were curious, like, hey, how can I actually find out when your rankings were last updated on the site? Well, cool little feature that our developers worked on where now when you click down on someone's rankings, you can actually see the last time they submitted their rankings. You can see mine was just 3 days ago. And then I think it does it for each tab. So let's say for example, for best ball, if you were to go to best ball, you could see the last time that I updated, which again was 3 days ago. So yeah, cool new feature. But anyway, appreciate you guys. I think that's it for today.
We'll see you tomorrow with a Dynasty startup.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see you tomorrow.
Be live tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, it might be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your night. Happy Father's Day. You know, if you got your father around, then, you know, show him some love tonight. But drop a like on your way out, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Love.